now gone live. Hello, hello. Just gonna chill out here for a bit while we wait for anybody who wants to come in to come in. But yeah, we're recording this just for posterity's sake. But I'm just here to chill out today. That's just what I'm here to do. I'm don't really have any plans. I may want to play some games later, but figure that out as we go. I just figure, yeah, just gonna sit here and wait for the viewers to roll in. Eh, not deluding myself about that any, but yeah, it's alright. Not having a whole lot of people watching isn't a inherently bad thing. It's just how it goes. I mean, fucking, I've streamed for like, what, a couple RPG sessions, a couple straight campaigns that went for like 4, maybe 5 sessions for super niche subjects, but that's how it goes. Streaming for about 2 hours and gonna go live. Going live on Blue Sky. There we go. And let's look at the Twitch. See how it's going. Yeah. Alright, it looks like the chat is reflecting well. Just gonna pop off studio mode here so I can get a better look at things from the OBS. Alright, here we go. A little bit of a stream setup. We're gonna see how that goes. For some reason, my mic sensitivity on Discord has been way up since a recent update. Couldn't tell you why, but it's way more sensitive now, and no matter what voice setting I set it to, it's just not gonna be. It's not gonna actually detect my silence. It's going to be like every time I touch the mic, every time I move my lips, every time a stray chin hair bristles against the wind, it's gonna pick it up. So you're gonna see Waver Velvet bouncing on it quite a bit. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's not so much of a bad thing, eh? I'm still a little bit sick, so there may be some coughing here and there. I hope it doesn't mess with things too much. But yeah, just gonna wait for things to roll in. Hello, hello. Who has joined the chat?
Brother.
Hello. It's brother. Yeah. How you doing, big man?
Oh, I would be doing better if the Volume 2 of Metal Gear Solid Master Collection would come out already.
Oh yeah. Woe is you. You don't get to play the old man Yowie yet. Oh, for shame.
Look, just because I want to watch two old men fight each other in a really gay way doesn't make me gay.
But it does make you gay.
I just so happen to be gay already.
Fucking called it. Yeah. By the way, are you alright with your Discord icon being used on stream?
I didn't even think about
Yeah, we'll edit that out later. Or not. Who knows? We'll see. Probably just gonna assign him something boring and generic. Let's see what we can find here. All right, y'all. Yeah, sorry, just chatting up with Blackwood. He was not expecting to be on stream, even though I put up a message in the general a while back saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna be streaming in the general VC, so don't hop in if you don't want to be streamed." Bro does not have fucking media literacy. Swear to God. But it's all good. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. People don't read anymore. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad. Anywho. Still messing around with the new Fugi. I have not used their new interface and it's weird and I don't like it. TBH. It's just like, why suddenly change everything to Legacy and then make everybody's default Discord icons be their Discord avatars, and then you have to manually set things to possibly override them, and then you have to set them as different sources. Or it may just be simpler than that, but it really should be simpler to figure that out if so. Because it's like everybody's automatically set to their default Discord icons. But what if I don't want that? Well, then you're going to have to use a custom source to import into OBS. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah. But hey, you know what? We work with it. We work with it. It's fine. It's kind of our motto at this point. You know what? It'll be alright. We can get Black Blood's Fuki in here. And he's back already.
Kojima is good! Kojima is good! Kojima is good!
Kojima is good. Yeah, care to elaborate? By the way, care to introduce yourself to anybody who will be watching this in the future?
Hello, everyone. I'm also a streamer. Not going to promote myself here because y'all
Do
don't
it.
deserve that.
Do it.
No, I don't. I can't even stream right now. My fucking headset is broken.
Okay, and do it for the
Look, I
future.
can describe myself later.
Alright.
What I would like to say now is to anyone watching,
Which is
Kojima is the best games developer of all time. There is no argument to be had. Not even Nintendo or even Capcom could have slightly stepped to his majesty. And the fact that we're finally getting Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker in a playable way, the gods have smiled on us, and those gods are Konami.
damn.
Specifically, the small infinitesimal fraction of people Kojima left at Konami to do his work because he said he would think less of them if they left with him.
Damn, so you're just bouncing on it, huh?
I would happily.
Just fucking slobbing on this Japanese game developer. Couldn't be me.
Excuse me, I think you mean game director?
Oh, I'm
Kojima Kotaku?
so sorry. Do you want me to get him his own director's chair as well for the computer he's gonna be
He
sitting
already
at?
has one.
Figures.
He has one made out of felt and I think ash.
Fucking of course you know what wood his director's chair is made out of, you fucking simp.
Of course I do.
What do you mean of
Because
course you do?
Kojima
Like
is God.
oh my god, he's doing tricks on it.
Kojima wa kami-sama.
Brand new isekai
I'll
title,
say that shit in
Kojima.
Japanese, man.
Yeah, I know you just did. Gotta be able to glaze in the appropriate language. I see how it is. Okay, look, so hear me
I
out.
fucking love the man.
Kojima is a good vision guy. Sorry, so I got a little bit of a cough. Kojima has a weird, fucking unique vision, and we love that for him. Luckily, he does it in a fun way and not like a Rick and Morty way where it's like, let's throw shit at a fan and then make a joke about throwing shit at the fan so that none of the shit we throw at the fan hits the fan. Know what I mean? Kojima does not do that. He doesn't lampshade his shit, and I really respect him for that.
What I really respect him for is the fact that he has unabashedly made games that are the best way I've found to describe them is fuck you, but have fun.
Yeah, fucking fun
The
slop.
primary the primary like goal of this game is go fuck yourself, I hate you, but also have fun.
Care to elaborate?
Like I hate every second of it. Like, okay, so when Kojima makes a game, he puts every ounce of effort into making the player hate every second of playing that game. And that is for the sheer reason of you don't understand how to play the game until around 3/4 of the way in. And by that point, you're so familiar with everything that you have every reason to be angry at the way the game plays and handles, and the way the mechanics control and everything, but it is all so comfortable to you that you can't be mad at it.
Hmm.
You just can't. It's like playing the old Metal Gear Solid games. You want to be mad at press X to fire gun. What? What the fuck does that mean? Press this button to do what? And then you get 3 hours into the game and you're fighting fucking the Fury or some shit. And you're sitting there staring at your screen going, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. It's a fucking checklist of I need to do this, but every moment of you running through that checklist is the most fun you will ever have in your life.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta love a man who will throw mechanics at you, but it's not all just like mini games and shit. It's all building on it. Like ending of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, for just as an example.
Which fight though? Because we've got three separate ones with three separate bosses, all of which are fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like they actually tie up the narrative, which, is good for a video game. It's to be expected, but uh the one in the flower field. I don't want to spoil too much in case any
Oh,
of the 0 viewers watching right now haven't played it, but
oh, so
hmm,
that boss fight. Oh, dude, the way they revamped it in Delta makes me feel things.
like good things or bad things.
It makes very good things. The smoothness of the animations are just perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go call my boyfriend. I hope you have a good day. Have fun with your stream. I'm done being a simp for Kojima. Take it easy, brother.
I know you're not, but at least on screen. All right, talk to you later. Hmm. And that was our resident Kojima simp, Blackblood. So yeah. So now it's just me again. We're about 15 minutes into the stream, but I'm just here waiting, chilling, and let's play some lo-fi. You know, something to calm the nerves and get us into a good vibing mindset. I don't know if it's gonna get me stricken, but you know what? We'll figure that out when we get there. There we go. Well, while I'm waiting for anybody to hop into the stream and either watch or talk or join me in VC, I think I'm going to do some work on my Star Rail Starfinder game. The party just got to their first planet. We're relatively early into the campaign, and Starfinder's been treating us pretty well. We figured out vision and stealth mechanics last session, which was neat, but it took a bit to figure out. Also because I was using the Pathfinder 2e Visioner module for Foundry. I did not study up on how to work with that, but it was relatively intuitive once I got a little break in the combat where I can mess around with the settings. Yeah, so I'm just gonna sit here and chill. I mean, I may narrate some of what I'm working on, but just in case any of my players are dirty little cheaters and watch this stream later, might not talk about too much. But while I'm here, might as well ramble about it a bit. It's a Starfinder 2nd Edition campaign I'm calling Starfinder's Journey. And its basic premise is, what if the Packed Worlds of Starfinder were just an isolated corner of the Honkai Star Rail universe? And then do a little bit of a time skip, somebody pops in, tells everybody, hey, gods are just like minor fractions or like facets of an Aeon. So, for those not in the know, Aeons in Honkai Star Rail are like cosmic embodiments of certain concepts and paths that people walk on and, get their weird little anime powers that never get explained. But, yeah, it's good stuff, and I really like the Honkai Star Rail lore. So I worked it in to be kind of an extension of Starfinder lore. But the other thing is that, I have a literal railroad campaign. Makes sense, because for those not in the know, Honkai Star Rail is the story of someone on the Astral Express, aka the space train on a space railroad. So, I think it's kind of alright to have a little bit of railroading. But, is it really railroading if you present multiple options? It's a good question. But, frankly, one I don't feel like going into big details to answer. Point here being, they picked to go on a path to a technologically advanced planet with a weird planetary landscape with very little water, lots of cold, and very dry. So they figured out, hey, there's a technically hyper advanced civilization here, let's go check it out, along with all the gravitational distortions around the planet. They landed safely, surprisingly, and started investigating a mine near the abandoned landing pad they came from. And long story short, they fought a couple of slag golems, fought a couple of cave spider crabs, and saved an IPC representative who was level 14. For reference, they are all level 3. He was critically hitting every single creature. The only time he got hit was when a slag golem rolled a natural 20. And that's only because it turns failures into its normal hits in Pathfinder. So, he hit him, dealt a little bit of damage, he shrugged it off, he has like over 150 HP. But, yeah, so they saved a level 14 PC. It was a funny little cameo, and they got information to get to the nearest city from him, so it was a fun encounter. Also, all the annoying corporate chill lingo was great. Seeing two of my player characters crash out over it, like, god damn it, he can't keep getting away with trying to make deals. He can't keep getting away with it. Yeah, so that was that. But now I've got to figure out how I want to introduce them to the main city on Pia Dio, which is the name of the planet they're on. In case you can't tell, it probably has like vaguely Italian vibes. This is nice. I've been doing lots of game prep, rushing around, like coordinating for conferences and business meetings and work stuff in real life. It's kind of nice to just be able to sit down, turn on some lo-fi music without working on anything in particular, and like knowing that someone may pop up, but not necessarily. I don't know, like even if nobody shows up today, I'm just talking to myself. But I think that's alright. It's nice to have the possibility of someone listening. I don't know if that's sad or poetic, but probably somewhere in between. Yeah. But for now, I just sit in silence. You know, something to think about. I'm just scrolling through Blue Sky right now, and someone put up a response to a Fortune.com article about how the US spent $30 billion to ditch textbooks for laptops and tablets, and how we are currently seeing the first generation less cognitively capable than their parents. I don't know if I'd necessarily call this a political discussion, but just to voice my thoughts on this kind of matter. As someone who is not too far out of high school and college, there is a large amount of technology that is very helpful. Very little of it is provided specifically for the classroom. Either students have their phones and have their laptops, which, laptops being school provided is probably a good thing. Honestly, I'd advise nothing higher than a Chromebook, because even then, kids probably don't need all that much more. There's web-based applications that can do document editing, slideshows, images, all that. Image editing, I should say. But point here being, in a classroom, I think that a Chromebook is like the ideal level of computer technology you want. Thinking about it, I was in a couple schools where they had smart boards, and like responsive projectors or like other technology-based gizmos like that for the classroom. Either the teacher integrated them into the workflow just to be like a whiteboard but with a screen on it, which is what a smartboard was, but a whiteboard would have done the same thing. Or they were a distraction. Like, it was like, okay, I'll let the kids play with the smartboard, or okay, now I'm trying to figure out how to open up this thing on the smartboard so that everybody can see it or whatnot. Point here being, smartboards never really did anything more than a whiteboard and a vocal description could. Or just a regular projector. And it's crazy to me that, like, I don't know, that we're assigning this value of cognitive capability to ditching textbooks, because textbooks are just a different kind of malignant industry, Yes, please pay $200 for your college textbook that you're going to need for one semester, on top of your dorm room, your tuition, your daily expenses. I swear to God, college is more about learning how to pay your expenses than actually learning what you're learning in class. That's a whole nother thing. Point here being, that ditching textbooks is not an inherently bad thing, but the headline is kind of misleading. That somehow the government spending $30 billion to ditch textbooks for laptops and tablets is directly connected to the cognitive capability decrease, rather than, okay, but are we using these things in the classroom effectively? I don't really know any teachers during my time who were trained to use a smartboard. They either were tech savvy enough to figure it out or didn't use it. And again, I'm pulling on the smartboard example a lot, but that's just the anecdotes I have personal experience with. But it's like, a technology being bought does not mean that its integration is inherently at fault for its misusage in the classroom. Smartboards could have been integrated. It should have been a slow, steady thing of, like, okay, let's make sure that our teachers are trained in this. Let's make sure they're in classrooms where they're actually needed. Like, you don't want a smartboard in the middle of a lab classroom, obviously, or like a gym room, but, Ultimately, the integration of technology, I think, is becoming a much broader, more applicable issue than the presence of technology itself. Having a computer in the classroom could mean anything, from a kid having access to more reliable information sources or less, or having more access to games in the middle of lectures, or more access to information that they could bring up during class. I was a rare example of a kid who would look stuff up while the teacher was talking about it, while everybody else was either like playing on cool math games or Newgrounds or whatever. I don't know, that might be showing my age, but point here being, if you can encourage students to use that technology in a productive way that makes for a better classroom environment. I think that's better. That's a better way of describing it than replacing our textbooks with laptops and tablets has led to a decrease in focus and too much screen time. It's like, yeah, kids have too much screen time, but you're not encouraging them to do anything good with it. Ultimately, I think that just as much as a kid can go to the library and check out like a comic book instead of a book about something they want to learn about, you give a kid a tablet without any supervision, they're going to go for something fun. They're going to go to Cocomelon or whatever game site is popular, or like Roblox, unless you give them an incentive to learn with it. Same thing applies to technology in the classroom. If you give kids laptops and you don't make sure that they're actually paying attention, it's just going to be a distraction for them. Ultimately, the issue isn't that we spent $30 billion to integrate this technology. It's that the reasons why we did it and the actual effort we put into integrating it is not equivalent to the value of it. And of course, there's also the whole industrial cults around, hey, make sure that the government wants to buy our thing and put it into schools and make sure it's mandated. That whole thing, but that's getting too close into politics for my taste right now. I'm here to chill, even though I just went on a whole 15-minute ramble about technology and education. But I don't know. There needs to be discussions about these things, and also I do realize I'm pretty much going on a whole stream of consciousness rant right now, but there's only one viewer. I think it's alright. We need to be not afraid to discuss important things out of a fear that there may be backlash. Because talking about these things openly is important. Now, that's not to talk about anything of tolerance of other opinions, which is necessary but has its limits, or, how much of a discussion should be open to debate if a party says they don't want to debate it, that whole thing. But I see people talking about stuff like, not to get political, but I really think that the economy is bad right now. And I'm like, that's not political, that's economical. By definition, it's only political if you bring in that integration of the political topic. I don't know, I want people to talk about anything more. I work at a couple different places where people just don't want to talk about things outside of their personal life. And you know what? That's okay. That's valid. I'm talking about my personal life right now. I'm streaming, but it's I don't know, we gotta be open to more topics. I want to have more engaging discussions, but, it's a double-edged sword there. Anywho, I'm going off about pretty much nothing. Blame it on the autism, I suppose. So let's see, Pia is a rocky planet, so I need to put that into consideration when I'm picking out art for its capital city. It's super technologically advanced, but there's not a whole lot of water. Maybe there's a couple lakes within the city limits, but probably not all that many. I probably don't need to detail all that much about the city itself, more than its landmarks and general location of things. Also because, highly tech-based city, there's probably a lot of verticality to it. I've already established that Pia Dio has a lot of mountainous stuff. When they were exploring the mines, it was built into the side of a valley's cliff face. So there's a lot of verticality in this place, but I don't want to really work too hard on integrating that into minor locations. I don't want to make multiple layers of maps for a library if I don't need to, or a restaurant. But for things a big meeting hall, or a big technological development center, like a laboratory, or a big archive, that I probably want to build some verticality into it, or even figure out a narrative way to work in the mountainous region. Hey, yeah, we built this library in a mountain that was within the city limits when we expanded, so we decided instead of, blasting the whole thing out or building around it, build into it. Integrated verticality. I kind of like that for an idea. Like, their big public archive is literally a mountain you have to scale, quote unquote, in either an elevator or like a hover car at certain levels to get to certain levels. I don't know, I think it's kind of neat. A lot of sci-fi stuff needs to be more fantastical, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, but when you're dealing with science fiction, if you're dealing with low sci-fi, like The Expanse or Starfield setting or, Firefly and whatnot, more grounded science fiction, More often than not, you're going to be dealing with things typical of that, like modern architectural sensibilities with extra metal or plastic or, conservative architectural structures because, you want to save on resources. But like in Star Rail and Star Wars and Starfinder, Honkai Star Rail, Star Wars Starfinder, you want to get crazy with it. Like, in Honkai Star Rail, there's a whole planet that is literally a collective dream, and the visual stuff they do in the environments there is amazing looking. It's just like, oh, you're on a city rooftop that swaps staircases around like an MC Escher painting, and always has a view out to the sunset no matter where you are on the buildings. It's great. Or like, you're in the Reverie Hotel, and in reality, it's just a huge U-shaped hotel around a central fixture that's like a big brass clock cube floating in the center of the space. But then you get into the dreamscape, and first place you land in, you can see that same kind of weird clock cube with the spiral clock face and the brass die faces and whatnot. But it's where it was floating in the hotel, there's now like a huge giant vortex star where you can see like golden light coming out of it. I may be misremembering, but point here being, it's like when you land in the city, it has the same basic viewpoint structure as when you're in the lobby of the hotel before you enter the dreamscape. Very cool. Star Rail does a lot of very interesting stuff with their architecture in the games and their visual design with very limited environments, because for those not to know, Honkai Star Rail is a Hoyoverse game. It's not a huge like Elden Ring open world. There are set paths, and you're going to be using these areas a lot in different missions. So there'll be basic points where you're going to, hey, I need to meet an NPC here. I take this path and this path because I've already been to a similar spot near there for another mission. They have to reuse their maps a lot, so they have to work in a variety of aesthetics and viewpoints to keep it visually diverse enough that it's distinct. Even within the same map, you need to have places where things look different enough the players can visually identify them as a different place in this map that I've been to before. I don't know, it's a very interesting design challenge, because it's not like they're going for small maps, they are very big, and a lot of them usually have unique traversal modes where it's like, oh, you can teleport across the map from a station here, so, the size of the map is not directly correlated to the time it takes to travel across it. But the visual diversity you have to work in while keeping it consistent with that area's theme is a challenge. But Hoyoverse does it, and I personally think they do it really, really well. In Genshin, I think that they can kind of do that with some areas, but because they have such a big open world, it kind of blends together by nature, It's like, there's only so much you can do without visually seeing the other places, especially when you're dealing with a lot of open plains and big mountains where you can run into enemies. Star Rail doesn't really have that same issue. It's very close, constricted maps with like easily recognizable routes and waypoints and traversal methods. So they have much smaller individual maps, but those maps can pack a lot more visual diversity because they consider that when they're making the world. On Belobog, it's a lot of snow. Snow is a huge thing. It's a whole frozen world. That's the theme of Belobog. It's a frozen world in both thematics and literal aesthetic. So, a lot of it is frozen scraps of old buildings or things buried in snowdrifts or huge walls meant to block off any snow from entering a lit city. In the mines, it's grimy. There's a lot of old elevators and rail carts and bridges, and they've built their houses into places that could have been old mining channels that were just mined of all the resources. Meanwhile, in the upper city, it's very clean. It's very constricted with city streets and subway cars and whatnot. Not subway cars, like railway cars, like in San Francisco. But otherwise, it's kept very consolidated. You can get to one place to another by crossing over the plaza. And the museum is that one way, City Hall is another way, directly parallel. And you see, I can remember all this because they put in the effort to make those waypoints visually distinct. I remember the Belobog Museum is what is like south of the city plaza, where you go from the stairwell up to the city hall or the architect's palace or whatever it's called. But I can remember that stairwell, and I can remember the like Serval's electronics shop on the city corner next to it. I don't know if that's just me being like in tune with the game, or if it's, me paying enough attention where I can visualize it. It's like when you go into a familiar grocery store and it's like, hey, I know where the meat section is. I know where the breads are. I know where the snacks are. I know where the soups are. And you can visualize that in your head. You have that spatial memory of it. For me, a lot of Star Rail areas are like that. I remember Serval's shop is to the right of the stairwell that leads up to the Architect's Palace. I know that the museum is south of that. I know there's two newsstands, in the center of the plaza, across from each other. And I can remember all that. I don't know. I kind of locked in with Star Rail to pay attention to stuff. Like a lot of other games, I'll be like, I don't know. I just follow the wave markers. I follow the glowing green arrow that leads me to where I want to go, and I pay more attention to that than my surroundings. But Star Rail, it's that, and I'm paying attention to all the visual stuff around me. I don't know. It's just kind of hit that right spot for me where it's all very distinct. Belobog, post-apocalypse, frozen wasteland. The Xianzhou is like Southeast Asian Coruscant, where it's like heavy Chinese influences with like star skiffs shaped like individual canoes and like various like big oak bridges, little lily pad gardens, and big sweeping archways with a lot of connected walls. Think like Bleach's Soul Society, where it's all just a huge maze of interconnected walls and buildings that lead out from those open air hallways, so to speak, like those streets in the alley. But every street is an alley. And yeah, the Xianzhou is kind of like that. Penacony, very open, very abstract, but also a lot of very like simple viewpoints. Like here's a place where you can see this. The rest of it is very crowded with advertisements and bright colors, flashing lights, attractions. But it's all built around like a city where there's nothing but places you want to go. It's like, do you want to go gamble? There's a huge gachapon machine the size of a skyscraper waiting for you. Yeah, that's right next to the arcades, which is right next to a dining area, which is right in an open air plaza with an open band playing, and that's all the way just across from the shopping center. And it's like a mall where they aren't concerned about bathrooms or rest stops or benches. It's like a dreamscape made purely for entertainment. It makes sense. And then Amphorius. Huge Greco-Roman influences, like lots of big staircases, open forums, lots of like open canopies with city streets, lots of little staircases, not like huge, big, sweeping, like grand staircases, but like little steps leading up to different levels of the plazas. Castrum Kremnos has a lot of big, imposing architecture. Stygia, the city in the river. That's yeah, that's flooded city with like various debris and driftwood all scattered about, and remnants of structures that survived the flood, all that jazz. Not getting into too much more, but suffice to say, I really admire the visual designers of Honkai Star Rail because they pay attention to the little details of how to make an area that is visually memorable and easily navigatable. Like I can remember all the locations in Bellabog and like the general layout of stuff in the Cienjo. Cienjo not so much. I haven't really stuck around there for a lot of the side quests and such, but you know, Amphorius and all these places. Like Bellabog really stuck out as the first place where I'm like, wow, they really honed this aesthetic, and I want to replicate that in my Star Rail campaign. I want to be like, hey, each planet isn't just a bog standard like layout applied to a different bio. If a planet developed with lots of rocky outcroppings and high mountains, they would get used to building stuff with more verticality or building stuff into mountains for stability. They don't have a lot of water on the surface, so they often got used to digging down and having like vertical waterways when they could manage it, like aqueducts, to carry water, to either ship water up in barrels or, carry it down to miners and hot volcanic canals and whatnot. Like lots of two-way traversal systems. Like you don't just have two subways going one way each. It's like, nah, they're made to go both ways, like a mining rail cart, stuff like that. And it's a very technologically advanced society, so there's stuff like teleporters and pocket dimensions that people live in. So there's not a whole lot of living spaces on the planet. There's big structures, unlike Penacony, where there's just tons of little things and bright flashing lights and attractions and huge theme park rides. No, Piadillo has huge structures that are like statues of ancient heroes and giant archives built into a mountain spike. It's, big imposing structures, but more built for function than visual imposition. And all of that with a lot of flying cars, a lot of vertical traversal vehicles, so elevators, spatial transporters, but ultimately it's not a place you're meant to be able to navigate around for long periods of time. When you can teleport to home with a device in your pocket, you don't want to focus on, yes, let's make sure that people can drive for at least 30 miles in the city. It's not like that. There are some areas that may just be like almost entirely walled off from each other in the city because they don't really consider, transparent traversal between them. They're just more so focused on having things that people couldn't keep in small spaces. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's those kind of things you have to consider when you're making a world for an RPG. It's like, okay, if this is a mage tower, why does it have a front door? Like an easily openable wooden front door. Wouldn't they have like a magic lock on it? Or maybe there is no front door, you have to tap on a certain brick with a invisible rune inscribed on it or something. I think there's something like that in Morrowind, where like the mage academies are literally only accessible if you can fly up to them. Otherwise, normal people cannot even dream of getting up there by climbing, because they're just floating in the air, something like that. The world is as much shaped by the capabilities of the people in it as the capabilities of the people are shaped by the world around them. So take that into consideration whenever you're making an RPG world, If you're making sci-fi, consider, hey, what if a huge cargo freighter needed to land on the planet to off-haul its cargo? Where would it go? If there's a huge busy spaceport that's constantly filled with little personal shuttles, you're gonna need a place separate from that for the huge cargo freighter to come. Maybe there's a whole orbital station dedicated to taking in cargo and then shooting it across the planet to where it needs to go. Like a distribution center built into a space station. Something like that. Or it could be, No, actually, we have a whole industrial like city where people drop off and pick up big industrial bulk shipments. Like there's the Chinese city Shenzhen, which is almost entirely based in electronics manufacturing. Super smoky, super polluted. It's not a good place to live, and my my best wishes go out to the people living there and working there. But in Shenzhen, people have to wear masks because the air is filled with toxic chemicals. So long-term exposure isn't good. So whenever you go there, make sure you have a mask. The architecture is very much based on having huge levels of factories and easy walkways where people can bring shipments to the docks. Or, I don't know, is Shenzhen a dock city? I don't know, but something to look into. But if a city is made for manufacturing, your residential areas are going to be super cramped because they need the space for machinery in large factory buildings and warehouses. So more likely than not, you're going to have very cramped apartments or maybe multi-unit dormitories. But think about something like Coruscant, in Star Wars. Coruscant doesn't really have a aesthetic to it. It's just busy planet where it's like it's a city as far as the eye can see. Like you could look down and there is probably like 100 million people on the planet's surface all doing different things while you're looking down from a platform disembarking from the Jedi High Tower or whatever. But Coruscant doesn't really have an aesthetic other than huge city where everything is populated and moving. But then you look at like Kashyyyk, where it's like a jungle planet with lots of large shrubbery and trees and big swampy areas where theoretically people with fur could hide. Wookiees waiting to ambush Imperial stormtroopers, all that. But a world should shape its people as much as the people shape the world, like I already said. Yeah. It's been about roughly an hour or so. And I will admit I'm a little discouraged. Nobody's come in, but it's not like I'm faulting anyone for that. It's just, it's the middle of the day with an entirely unplanned stream. I don't stream things with a schedule, so yeah, I probably can't expect people to be free for whenever I stream. But you know what? I think this was a good exercise. I'm probably going to cut it off here, but it was a good exercise in keeping a stream of consciousness going for a long time, and if not applying to streaming, that could apply to my writing. That could apply to my GM narration, which I already do way too much of, but I think that's alright. I'm gonna call off stream early for today, but this was good. People didn't come, but I still consider it a success because I went live, so I'm taking that as a W. And I think that's an attitude we all need to take. I'm gonna cut off stream here, but if anybody watches this later for any reason, I hope that you have a wonderful day. I hope that you take care of yourself and take pride in the little things you do. Even if they don't have big results, you put in effort into them. So take pride in